County is telling residents living on the Russian River and its tributaries to evacuate. The river is expected to crest at 36 feet at 1 a.m. Throughout the state, there are multiple weather advisories, watches, and warnings in effect. Lake Elsinore is among the hard-hit areas.
I've been here since 1983, and it's like in the same house, and I've never seen this.
We were all driving like this to go around. I mean, there's no streets. You can't see them. It's just a big river.
Several swift water rescues have taken place today in Riverside County. Some scary moments this afternoon at the Sunset Bronson Studios in Hollywood, which had to be evacuated after reports of a man with a gun in a parking structure. A suspect is now in custody. And a cell phone video shows Belinda Pinello of West Los Angeles being subjected to a racist rant by an unidentified woman in Playa Vista.
We don't want you here. This is our street. Leave us alone. Are you all right? We pay $10,000 a month to keep you out.
The woman said of Pinello's child, he doesn't even look human. Steve Clausen, California News.
A good night's sleep starts with the right pillow. That's where MyPillow comes in, and we're excited to announce the new 4-pack special. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the 4-pack special tab, and save 50% off the 4-pack, which includes 2 MyPillow premiums and 2 Go Anywhere pillows. Use promo code SKY at checkout or call 1-800-635-1825. That's 1-800-635-1825, or go to MyPillow.com. Click the 4-pack special tab and use promo code SKY at checkout.
You're in the front yard, shovel in hand, about to dig, when a thought crosses your mind.
Was I supposed to call 811 before I start digging? Nah, that's just for excavator dudes.
No, dude, it's for homeowners too. Before starting any digging project, call 811 2 working days in advance to get all underground lines marked for free, because natural gas lines and other utilities can be buried anywhere.
Got it. Thanks, deep-voiced narrator.
You're welcome, dude. Brought to you by Southwest Gas.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is glad to finally send a budget bill to President Trump's desk. Pelosi congratulated the lawmakers who were able to hammer out their differences to make the bill a reality.
It's my honor to sign it as Speaker of the House, but I sign it in honor of our conferees. They did a spectacular job.
The bill skated through both chambers of Congress today as legislators look to avoid another government shutdown. President Trump's expected to sign the bill, even though it provides just a fraction of the funding he wanted for a barrier along the border. The White House said he'll announce a national emergency at the border. By declaring an emergency, the president is giving himself the power to reassign money that was budgeted for disaster relief in Puerto Rico and California and use it instead to build a border wall. Democrats have labeled the move a power grab that bypasses Congress. It's likely to be challenged. The Justice Department is rejecting claims by former acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe.
In a statement on Thursday, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein said McCabe's remarks on CBS News' 60 Minutes are inaccurate and factually incorrect. McCabe claims there were serious discussions within the Justice Department about secretly recording conversations with Trump and rallying the cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove the president. Tom Roberts, NBC News Radio.
Facebook is reportedly negotiating a settlement with the Federal Trade Commission that would include a multi-billion-dollar fine. The Washington Post reports that the settlement deals with Facebook's privacy practices. Sources familiar with the matter said the two sides are still hammering out the details of the fine. A YouTube personality is recovering after being shot while live streaming today in Los Angeles. A transgender woman known as Zoe was shot outside a synagogue and school on Beverly Boulevard. The video shows a security guard holding a pistol behind a gate and seems to look surprised when the gun fires. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
Here's your community calendar for KCAA. Phantom of the Opera is now taking the stage at the Lifehouse Theater in Redlands from February 9th to March 17th. You can witness young Christine's rise to fame in the opera world thanks to the schemes of the ominous Phantom. But will his efforts win her heart? Sinister plots abound amidst comedic moments and heartbreaking mystery. The Lifehouse Theater is located at 1135 North Church Street in Redlands. You can find tickets and more information at boxoffice.lifehousetheater.com. And that's a look at your community calendar for KCAA.
Erin here from On the Brink Morning Show, where we talk about all that is engaging in the Inland Empire. News, politics, business, family, things to do, and so much more. Join us weekdays from 6 to 7 a.m. on KCAA 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, and 1050 a.m. or on KCAAradio.com.
Miss your favorite show? Download the podcast at kcaaradio.com.
Are you ready for a new experience? To see life from another point of view? New hope, new expression, new joy. This is your radio hour. Welcome to Viewpoint with Father John.
And welcome, friends. You are tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or on the World Wide Web at kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John, and I am your host, Father John Reid. By the way, you can follow this show on Viewpoint with Father John on Facebook and Instagram. So be sure you come and follow us and keep those numbers up. And if you like, you can even donate. All of God's children are endowed with extraordinary purpose and ability. I'm on a quest to help as many as possible in fully realizing their divinely inspired potential. Disposing a false narrative and embracing genuineness inspires clarity of purpose. My role is to help overcome self-imposed limitations in realizing one's spiritual potential. And brothers and sisters, Viewpoint with Father John is a listener-supported program. You are the ones who keep us on the air each week, so please go to viewpointwithfatherjohn.com, click the support button, and give what you can. I truly thank you for your support. Also, I'd like to invite you to buy a copy of my book, Close Your Eyes So You Can See Me. The premise of this book is that we are all God's children and that we do not need more self-improvement. Rather, we need self-discovery. Close Your Eyes So You Can See Me is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and most online bookstores. Get your copy today, and if they don't have it on your online bookstore, kick them off the air is what I say. Pirate them. Anyhow, tonight I'm really honored to have a great guest on my show. It's Laura Wending, the program director at Cancer Support Community of Pasadena. Laura, welcome on the show.
Thank you, Father John. Very nice to meet you, too.
Tell us a little bit about your program and what is it you do? I know you're a nonprofit.
We are a nonprofit. We are a part of an affiliate network of other cancer support communities across the country. And we provide supportive services in the form of support groups, education, and hope for cancer patients and their family members.
Very good. Now you say education. What does that consist of?
We do a lot of different workshops. We do bring in medical professionals, but we also do things that might be a little outside the box. Our focus for the education as well as our mind-body classes is really to help reduce anxiety, provide a sense of community for individuals that are facing cancer. And the educational workshops range from anything from bead making to how to manage side effects of treatment.
Very good. Now, do you do anything with the families as well?
We do. We provide services for the whole family. We have a program for children that is at the same time as the parents program. So a family can come in. One parent, who's the patient, has their own support group. The family and friend, we call it a family and friends group. Caregiver's a little narrow, but say the other family member can come in and have their support group, and then the children have their own space. And all of our programs are facilitated by licensed mental health professionals. So we have licensed marriage and family therapists and licensed clinical social workers that facilitate all of those groups, including the children's group.
Oh, that's powerful. That's wonderful. And you said also you have resources?
We do. We help individuals that come in with a number of different types of programs. All of our programs are evidence-based. We do have a research and training institute in Philadelphia. So all of our programs have been proven to help reduce anxiety and depression. And those programs might consist of a program that helps a patient communicate better with their physician.
Okay, very good. Mm-hmm. Help them know what questions to ask.
We help them triage their questions, yeah.
Outstanding. Now, do you do any journaling with them?
We do journaling, we do watercolor, we do beading, we do photography, any of those types of things that can help make anxiety reduced a little bit. We do know that anxiety suppresses the immune system.
Yes,
and we want our members to have the most healthy immune systems that they can possibly have to go through their treatment.
Very good. What drew you into this work, if I may ask?
It is a somewhat interesting story. I used to be a CPA.
Okay.
I worked in real estate finance for about 20 years, and my husband was diagnosed with cancer in 2002.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He was 50 years old, had a form of cancer that's relatively rare called osteosarcoma.
Oh, I can't familiar with that.
And at the time, I had 2 teenagers, and he passed away in 2003 after about a year-long struggle with the disease. And I called it my midlife crisis. I called it my reckoning, trying to figure out what my purpose was going to be for the rest of my life.
Right.
And I took some time off, left my job, and through some long discussions with my therapist, who, after working with her for about 6 months, looked at me one day and said, "Have you ever thought of sitting in my chair?" And I said, well, not really, but I'd taken some psych classes, and so that was kind of my quest. At the time, I lived in San Diego with my 2 teenagers, and after about a couple of years after he died, my kids went off to college, and I really felt like I had to find a better purpose. So I knew I wanted to work with cancer patients, and I was exploring ways to do so. I also had elderly parents and my late husband's parents up in the Los Angeles area, so I moved back home. I grew up in La Cañada. I moved back to Pasadena to help my sisters with the elderly parents, and applied to grad school and applied to Azusa Pacific, and was accepted. The 3 weeks after I was accepted to grad school, I was then diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh, my goodness.
So it made my quest even more determined to get through my program in 2 years. And so based on my own cancer experience and the grief that I went through after my husband's death, dealing with teenagers who had lost their dad, it really felt like a calling at that point.
Absolutely. I want to get into something that's kind of personal, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
If you're not okay with it, just say skip this topic. I work with a number of people who have had terminal diagnoses. And one of the things that we've talked about are things that well-meaning people say that are not helpful, such as, "I know how you feel."
Correct.
Or, "Expect a miracle." Or, "There's always God in science." And for me, what I found, one of the best things I can do is sincerely say, "I'm here," and mean that. Not just a platitude, but actually be there and to sit with them. What my friend Elizabeth Preston says, we come alongside them, not just in front of them or behind them. Could you make some comments about your experience?
That comes up a lot with our members. We are a secular organization,
okay,
but the spirituality aspect of facing their own mortality comes up a lot. Many people get angry with God. Many people feel like their faith has abandoned them. Other people find that it's a very positive thing to be able to rely on their faith.
Right.
And but you're right. A lot of people say a lot of really inappropriate things and that are not helpful. We have a little brochure that we call How to Be a Good Friend to Someone with Cancer. And it lists the do's and the don'ts. Like, don't say it's going to be okay because you don't know.
Yes.
Do walk beside them. And I think a big part of what we do is witness.
Good. You know, I'm going to hit you up for one of those pamphlets. I want you to know that.
I should have brought them.
That's okay. You're going to have my mailing address before you leave today. But I would like to be able to go through that, because some of the work I do that really comes in handy. And, you know, it's funny, you talk about the spiritual aspect of it. And I do a lot of retreats, and particularly with male spirituality. And one of the things I tell the guys, and of course, people, I'm not trying to change their belief. I'm just sharing as a retreat director, what I share with them is, if you can't ever get angry with your God is too small. You know, because if God's supposed to be loving and caring, don't we have the right and the safety to be upset with people that we love and are in family with?
That's interesting. We offer support groups, like I said, for family and friends.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the most valuable aspects of our counseling program. I know in going through it with my husband that the hardest thing for me was to have those hard conversations with him.
Oh, yes.
I wanted to be the cheerleader. I wanted to, keep positive. And what we found is that our facility offers reality. And many times those caregivers will bring their loved one into group, and they'll have their own group, and they'll go, I feel bad. She's sick. I feel like I can't get mad at her. And we talk about that a lot because that's not living. We have confrontation. That is what life is about. And the other thing with the caregivers is many times they forget to care for themselves.
Yes.
And we focus a lot on what have you done for yourself this week, because they feel like they have to be spending 24/7 with their loved one who is ill.
And if they think about themselves, they think they're very selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's one of the most difficult things I dealt with as a hospice chaplain, is helping people learn self-care. And I would say this all the time: it's okay to not be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we're just fine, and fine means frustrated, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be all that, but if you can't ever get upset with your loved one, then they really can't be close to you.
Exactly.
Because they need your authenticity, not just your cheerful face. And so it sounds like we're on the same page with that.
Well, and in my personal experience on that, I really credit my husband with giving me some of the best moments, because he was the one that would sit me down and say, we need to have these conversations. I remember one week our daughter was turning 16 and she wanted to go get her driver's license. And he said, I'll take her. And I'll say, no, I can take her Saturday. That's no problem. And he said, no, you don't understand. He goes, I need to take her.
Yes.
Because I won't be here to walk her down the aisle.
Mm.
And that, my heart was ripped out.
Sure.
But that opened the door for those hard conversations. And we encourage that. We encourage people to have those hard conversations in their family. We encourage them to tell their children at a level that the child can understand, of course, that mom or dad is sick and that we don't know the answers. They're doing their best to do the medicine and, working with their doctors, but we don't know the answers to that. We don't know what that prognosis is. And it's really hard for caregivers to let themselves talk about that, and it's even harder for the patients to keep that door open. And we encourage them, keep that door open, even if your loved one doesn't want to talk about it, does the la 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 la, I don't want to hear this. We really need to keep that door open in those conversations, because those conversations that I had with my husband are the most precious memories that I have of him.
Absolutely. And to me, I think it's kind of important that the family learns how to ask for help and to identify what their needs are, because each family has different needs. And so part of what I would do as chaplain is help them identify, what are my needs? Do I need a day off? Do I need rest? Do I need a massage?
Exactly.
What are the needs? What are my nutritional needs?
Right. We have a program also that's run by our national office. It's called My Lifeline. And it's kind of a combination between Facebook and Caring Bridge.
Okay.
If you're familiar with the Caring Bridge. But it's a virtual private network that people can invite their family members to join. And they can post things. They can post the blog. They can post the update on what's going on with them. And then they invite individuals that they want to participate to see those postings. And it's really useful, because there's only so many times you can tell the story of what's going on with that treatment or that day or that week with you.
Yes.
And it's another way of communicating with individuals that can keep them connected, but not overwhelm them with having to tell their stories continuously.
Well, speaking of identifying needs, we're at our first commercial break. My guest this evening is Laura Wending with the Cancer Support Community of Pasadena.
The loss of a loved one is one of the most challenging experiences in a person's life. It's hard to know where to turn to make your loved one's final arrangements. Jesse Ruiz at Personal Funeral Planning in Ontario will treat you and your loved one with the respect you deserve. Jesse served in the Marine Corps in Desert Storm and understands what it takes to provide loyal, personalized, and empathetic service to those who need it most. The families of Michael Jackson, Brittany Murphy, Ed McMahon, and many others have trusted Jesse to provide them with the highest level of service and support. To work with Jesse, call 909-762-4027, 909-762-4027, or visit their website, www.4pfp.org. www.4pfp as in personalfuneralplanning.org. Jesse Ruiz and Personal Funeral Planning, veteran owned and operated, helping you plan a personal, lasting tribute for your loved one. www.4pfp.org.
Hey guys, this is Andrew Caravella. Just wanted to let you know that KCAA has a new listener line for all of you that have a phone. Now you can listen to KCAA in the grocery store, in the doctor's office, or when you want to pretend you're on the phone with someone just so that creeper will leave you alone. Call 720-835-3099 today and listen to your favorite KCAA radio shows. That number again, 720-835-3099. KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no caller or listener behind.
If you're looking for a full or part-time sales position and you have radio, TV, or print media experience, KCAA has a great opportunity waiting for you that pays the highest commissions in the market. KCAA is the only station in the IE that broadcasts on 3 frequencies, so advertisers receive 3 ads for 1 low rate. This makes KCAA a must-buy for every local business. If you're interested in a sales position with us, email ceo@kcaaradio.com.
And welcome back. You are tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or on the World Wide Web at kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John. I am your host, Father John Reid. And again, I want to remind you that this is a listener-supported program. So if you please go to viewpointwithfatherjohn.com, press on the support button and give whatever you can. It does PayPal, it does credit cards. And for those of you who have supported this program, I truly do thank you for that. You're the reason we're still on the air. And it's always an honor to be here with you. Tonight, my guest is Laura Wending, and she's the program director at Cancer Support Community of Pasadena. I'm sorry, I warned you ahead of time. My dyslexia would kick in.
No worries.
And, I usually start all the books I read from the back and go forward. And, let's talk about a program, the Lifeline program that you mentioned, because I'm sure that many of my listeners are not familiar with that.
Yeah, it's called mylifeline.com. And again, it's a if you've ever been on Caring Bridge, which is a way to invite friends to post and make comments, and it's what's called a virtual private network.
Okay.
And you can keep people up to date on what's going on with you. Ours happens to be specifically cancer related. You can also join groups that are within My Lifeline. So say you are experiencing colorectal cancer, and they'll have a colorectal cancer group, so you can post and get information. We have about 30,000 members.
Wow.
And it's based out of Denver. And so you can go on and go to cancer specific, talk to people, post people, message people. So it's very much like Facebook, but there's also the component of if you invite people into your network and you need to have a drive to treatment.
Right.
So you can schedule meals. So there's ways that when people say, how can I help? Sometimes they really don't know how to help.
That's right.
And this is one of those things that a patient or their loved one can post and say, hey, we really need someone to pick her up because she's got to have a CT scan, and maybe the spouse can't pick her up that day, and to engage people and to keep them up to date on what's going on with someone's journey. And so when people say, how can I help? This is one way they can do it.
That's a wonderful idea. And I'm glad you can share that with our listeners, because I know that people listening, some of them have family members or they're going through stuff as well, and they don't know how to ask for help. And my experience has been that if you're able to write down what your needs are, do things happen, one, you become aware of what you need, and 2, you're able to communicate that a little bit better to other people.
Absolutely.
Because people do get frustrated because they become overwhelmed because they don't know what to do. So sometimes they drop out of communication because they don't know how to help. and they feel so guilty because they don't know how to help.
Well, that's also one of the tenets of our organization when it was founded 37 years ago, was that there's a sense of unwanted isolation,
right,
and a sense of chaos and a loss of hope. So this loss of control piece, this chaos, can really be averted by utilizing some of these tools. And we have about 55 standalone affiliates across the country, with another 60 or 70, I believe, that are in hospital-related facilities that people can go to, but we don't cover the whole world. We don't cover the whole United States. And so sometimes people are in rural areas or away from family members, and that helps them communicate with them. We've even had situations where we had a young man that came to us one year. He was supporting his mother, and his mother lived in Manhattan, and she was going through breast cancer. He had a job out here, so he utilized our services in the family and friends groups while his mom went to our affiliate in Manhattan to get her support. So we work very closely together. We're sister organizations, and we don't fight about them. We actually have 4 affiliates in Los Angeles County. We have our Pasadena affiliate that covers the San Gabriel Valley and the eastern San Fernando Valley. We have a Redondo Beach facility that covers the South Bay. We have a Los Angeles facility on Bundy that covers the West Los Angeles area. And we also have an affiliate in Westlake Village, just over the Ventura County line, that services that western San Fernando and up into Ventura County. So we don't fight about it. We want people to get services. We're all very close, and we just want people to find those services.
Well, you mentioned to me before we went on air even that you have an affiliate in Tokyo.
We do. We have an affiliate in Tokyo, and we have an affiliate in Tel Aviv, as well as a couple affiliates up in Canada.
Wow, that's incredible. Mm-hmm. I promise not to say the same Canada joke I gave you while we're off air.
That's fine. Well, we were founded in Santa Monica back in about 37 years ago.
Oh.
In a little yellow house. As the story goes, our founder, a gentleman named Harold Benjamin, who was a prominent attorney in Brentwood, had supported his wife through breast cancer in the late 1970s. And he really felt that the healthcare community didn't address the issues of the mind and the spirit. They really only dealt with the body. And he went back to school and got his PhD in clinical psychology and started this little nonprofit. And it tooled along for 7 or 8 years. And then back in 1987, we had a couple of very well-known members that came in, Gilda Radner and Gene Wilder, utilized our services. And when she wrote about it in her book, It's Always Something. When Gene moved back to New York after she had died, he started an organization with Gilda's brother called Gilda's Clubs.
Okay.
And so they were based on the model of the wellness community, which was our original name. And over the years, these organizations grew. And back in 2009, 2010, we merged forces. And so the models were the same. I say the organizations were twins separated at birth.
Right.
And really had the same tenets, the model, the support groups, the education, the healthy lifestyle classes, as well as a community component. So all of the cancer support communities and Gilda's clubs across the country all have similar models, but we also can cater to our populations. So in Pasadena, we have a very vibrant Spanish language program. In our Chicago affiliate, they actually have a Polish support group. So we can model it to the communities that we serve.
That's great. And one of the things that you shared with me before the show was you're able to hook some people up with certain resources. You don't give the actual supplies, but you're able to help guide them to places that have the supplies. Is that correct?
Correct. So say someone comes in and they need a wheelchair or they need a walker, we can refer them to other local nonprofits that can help with those supplies. We also can help connect them with other organizations. There's a wonderful organization that's part of the Disability Rights Legal Center that's called Cancer Legal Resource Center. And so if individuals have legal issues, maybe they're having trouble with their insurance, maybe they're having trouble with their job, maybe they're threatened to lose their job, they can talk to pro bono attorneys there and get legal advice. So we can help them find resources even if it's not something that we personally provide.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that. I have a friend who is at City of Hope currently, and her employer had promised her that they would keep her on her insurance and everything, and then a couple weeks ago, they said, well, because she's off on disability, we're not going to continue your insurance. You're on your own. And she's at the point where she was in remission for a little bit, and it came back. And they're kind of pushing her out because she's sick. And, so one of the things I told her is I said, you need to talk to a labor attorney on that. But maybe I should send her to
Cancer
folks.
Legal Resource Center would be great.
Yeah.
You can find them online as well. And wonderful organization of pro bono attorneys.
Good, because it just broke my heart, because this is a really neat lady who's very hardworking, and it's just an awful thing to do to another human being.
Absolutely.
That's just my opinion, but I'm right. So
we do our best to, if we don't provide it, people walk in our doors and we want them to utilize our services. But if they need something else, we'll do our best to help them find it.
Well, sure. Well, that's like what we do as therapists. I don't supply everything with people come to me for counseling, but I have other resources that can do that, and I help them where I'm qualified for it. And it's certainly not a competition.
Right.
It's just a matter of, okay, this is my area for this. Here's another resource.
And it's really interesting. We, our members, a lot of times they'll write testimonials and they'll tell us how our services affected them.
Good.
And it's wonderful to hear those things. And there's sometimes coming into our organization, they might have a huge network of friends and family, but they just may not have someone there that understands what a cancer diagnosis is like.
Right.
And they can come into their group, and there's such authenticity that happens in those support groups. These are not psychotherapy groups, they're support groups. And the power of being in a group of individuals, even if they have completely different cancers, being with that group and seeing the power, the friendships that it creates. And people will tell us all the time that if I had not walked in your doors, I would have never met these people that are now my best friends.
Right.
And they would have never crossed paths. They didn't live in the same neighborhood. They didn't go to the same church, but they've bonded. And there's a real amazing sense of friendship that builds.
Oh, that's wonderful. Is there any particular letters or communiques that you received that was especially close to your heart that you can share in a general way about without breaking anybody's anonymity?
Well, I'll tell one story. When I've been program director for about 7 years, but I started there when I was in my graduate program, in my practicum, in my second year. And I was there for a couple of years, and I had a member, I brought my parents in.
Oh.
To, they came of the era of, the Depression era, and they didn't really understand why I went from being an accountant to being a therapist. It was kind of a 180-degree switch. And I wanted them to come in and tour our facility. And we had a watercolor class going on at the time. And I told the watercolor class, I said, is it okay if I bring my parents in? Oh, sure, no problem. So I brought my parents in, and I introduced them. And as I was walking my parents out, one of those group members ran down the hall and grabbed my mother's hand and said, your daughter saved my life.
Oh, wow.
And it still gives me shivers. Unfortunately, that woman died a few years ago, but it's an incredibly, that's why we do what we do.
But she got to live before she died.
She did. And she got to do watercolor, and she was a wonderful artist.
Oh, that's wonderful. And that's one thing I talk to people about quite a bit. Death doesn't scare me. We all are going to die at some point. What scares me is to die without living first. And so I think her statement of you saving her life, she's able to learn watercolors and such, I think that's a prophetic statement because you helped her live before she died.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how many people can't say the word die. I learned that doing hospice. And part of it's the cultural change. 50 years ago, you could talk about death, but you couldn't talk about sex. In fact, in the Midwest, most houses had a room called the parlor, and you did your socializing there. But when somebody died, the family would wash the body, dress the body, and they'd have a wake. And we used to say the difference between an Irish wedding and an Irish wake was one less drunk. And, and you could talk openly about death. But again, you couldn't talk about sex. 50 years later, You can't drive down the freeway without seeing a sign about sex or a gentleman's club or where, which I don't know why they call it a gentleman's club. I won't get into that. anyhow, but you can't talk about death. We use circumlocution. We say expired. Well,
passing away.
Yeah. My former executive director at Hospice of the Valleys used to say, they expired. Well, my library card expired. I renewed it. Are you going to go renew them? And he said, if you can't talk about death and say the word, then neither can your patients.
Well, I noticed that too in doing the bereavement groups over the years, that there's a real shift. When the death has occurred relatively recently, many times people do use the pass away or pass on, the euphemisms. And as they move through their grief, there's a turning point when that passing away turns into died.
Yes.
There's that final, acceptance of, and the realization of the reality of that loss. And it's just an interesting observation as a therapist. And you probably had those same kind of experiences working in counseling individuals, that the way they speak gives you a clue as to where they are.
Very true. In fact, I do a lot of grief workshops at different places. And one of the things I try to explain to people is there's no such thing as normal grief. We all grieve in our own way, but there are some commonalities. And one of the commonalities is grief is not a few months. It's a minimum of 3 to 5 years. And you go through a lot of firsts during that first 12 months. And if you can learn to be okay with not being okay and be able to identify your needs to share it with other people. And one of the greatest needs I found for people is for people to say the person's name.
Exactly.
And so, so I agree with you 1,000% on that. So you do work with the families afterwards?
We do. We have bereavement services as well.
Good.
We do short-term individual counseling as well that can be very helpful, especially in those first 6 to 8 weeks.
Right.
Sometimes when people are so raw, they're not ready to go into a bereavement group. Sometimes a little bit of distance is helpful, and we can do some one-on-one counseling when they're in that raw state.
Oh, that's wonderful. I think that's such an important resource. Now, someone comes to your program. Is there a fee?
Absolutely not. All of our services are free of charge.
That's
for all the cancer support communities. That's a tenet of our organization.
That's so important for my listeners to hear, because I think sometimes people get the idea that there's going to be this bill that they're going to get, their family's going to get, and so they don't investigate the programs because, our healthcare system, I'm not going to get real political here, but our healthcare system isn't user-friendly.
Absolutely. You are correct with that.
And so to be able to share with people, this truly is a nonprofit that is offering its services to the community free of charge.
Absolutely.
It's so important.
And it's our founder, as I mentioned, Harold Benjamin, never wanted finances to be a boundary to getting these services. And so it's important that people also know that our information is confidential.
Right.
We don't answer to any insurance companies or any governmental agencies. You walk in the door and your information is confidential. If your sister calls up the next day and says, hey, my sister came in there, I can neither confirm nor deny. But I can invite them to come in and say, would you like to check out the place?
So you follow the HIPAA format?
We are, because we're not a medical facility.
I mean, philosophy-wise.
The philosophy we do. We're not HIPAA we are not required under HIPAA because we don't carry confidential medical information, but we function under the tenets of HIPAA.
It seems like that would make it much easier for people to come to you because you don't have that confidential information. To me, it would signal that it's a safer place to come because they know that it really is confidential.
Safety is our number one focus.
Absolutely.
We want everyone to feel comfortable and safe. We don't invest in treatment. We're not a medical facility. We have people come from all different medical facilities and find out about us. We focus on strengthening the person and helping them get as much information as they need to make the best decision for themselves.
Yes.
So we're not invested in any specific treatment. If someone comes in our doors and says, I've got liver cancer, I'm 75 years old, they want me to do a liver transplant, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do treatment, that's absolutely fine too.
Yes.
We want them to feel like they can find that information out. They can be in the support groups. There's not an investment in anything specific medically.
Oh, that's fabulous. Well, we talked about grief a few minutes ago, and Nick has given me a bunch of grief that it's commercial time. And so my guest this evening is Laura Wending. She's Program Director at Cancer Support Community. And we will be back in 2 and 2.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292FQ Riverside, and K293CF Moreno Valley.
The loss of a loved one is one of the most challenging experiences in a person's life. It's hard to know where to turn to make your loved one's final arrangements. Jesse Ruiz at Personal Funeral Planning in Ontario will treat you and your loved one with the respect you deserve. Jesse served in the Marine Corps in Desert Storm and understands what it takes to provide loyal, personalized, and empathetic service to those who need it most. The families of Michael Jackson, Brittany Murphy, Ed McMahon, and many others have trusted Jesse to provide them with the highest level of service and support. To work with Jesse, call 909-762-4027, 909-762-4027, or visit their website, www.4pfp.org. www.4pfp as in personalfuneralplanning.org. Jesse Ruiz and Personal Funeral Planning, veteran-owned and operated, helping you plan a personal, lasting tribute for your loved one. www.4pfp.org.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Glenn Anderson. Your forecast for the rest of this evening calls for a chance of showers, mostly cloudy skies, and an overnight low around 44 degrees. Showers likely on Friday, mainly in the afternoon with mostly cloudy skies and a high in the mid to upper 50s. And it looks like another chance of showers as we move into your weekend. I'm Glenn Anderson, broadcasting live from the Tri-City Center at the 10 to 210 freeways with a trifecta of talk in Southern California. KCAA 102.3 FM Riverside, 106.5 FM Redlands, and the Legacy 1050 AM Loma Linda, San Bernardino.
And welcome back. You are tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or on the World Wide Web at kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John, and I'm your host, Father John Reid. And by the way, happy Valentine's Day for all you lovers out there, and too bad for all those who aren't lovers out there. And I'm just kidding. I'm talking to my Roman priest friends. Happy You're All Alone Day. And so I'm sure I'll get half a communion host for that one. Nick, how you doing tonight? You and your missus doing anything for Valentine's?
Not tonight because we're both working. But tomorrow is our Valentine's Day. Yeah. We have an annual tradition that we do every single year, and we've decided, since I'm working at night, she doesn't get home until night, we're just gonna move it all till Friday. So.
Oh, that's a great idea. By the way, to my listeners, you may not know it, but Nick is a big star. He's DJing on another network, which okay, go ahead. You can say the network and when your show is.
Well, first off, thank you. I host a 1-hour blues music show. It's nothing but blues for an hour. It's called the KQLH Blues Bar. It's on 92.5 KQLH every Saturday at 4 o'clock. And come in and join me. It's a good time, and if I do say so myself, great music.
And if he's in the mood, it's Moody Blues. I'm just kidding.
Look at that. And I also have to say one more thing. The host, rumor has it, very handsome.
Mm-hmm. Yes. We go to the same barber.
Yes.
And so, well, thanks for that, Nick.
Oh, thank you.
And again, my guest this evening is Laura Wending, Program Director for Cancer Support Community at Pasadena. And talk a little bit about how you're funded.
Well, as I mentioned, we are a 501c3 nonprofit.
Right.
We don't get any government funding or insurance funding. About 45% of our funding comes from private foundation grants that we apply for. The other part of it is we have events. We have a big event coming up on March 30th, which is our gala.
Good.
We usually have about 300 people. That's going to be held at a Annandale Country Club in Pasadena. We have other events. We have a casino night in the summertime.
Ooh.
We have a ladies' night out in October. We have a holiday boutique. In addition to that, we have amazing board of directors and amazing major donors. We have a benefactor society for major donors, and that just means that we only ask them once a year.
Sure, no, I get that.
And along with that, they get some tickets to those events. We have a legacy society.
What is that about?
That's for individuals that would like to put us in their will.
Okay.
So they can name us as a beneficiary on a IRA account. They can actually put a percentage of in their will. So we encourage individuals to participate that way, and leave a little bit to us. We were incredibly fortunate a couple of years ago to receive a legacy gift from a lovely woman that had been a donor. I think she'd given us $250 a year for 20 years.
Oh, that's beautiful.
At the end of the year, and we didn't even know about it. When she passed away, she had a very large IRA, and she split it, I believe, between 10 nonprofits, and we benefited from receiving over $200,000 from this lovely woman.
Oh, that's beautiful.
We had no idea. We had no idea she had named us on that. And so, yeah, I'm a member. I have my own beneficiary on my IRA is Cancer Support Community Pasadena, because we really want our organization to survive and sustain and be here another 30 years. We're having our 30th year in 2020.
Good.
And we're going to be doing a lot of fun things for that 30th anniversary. And we just want to be here to serve people. We want people to be able to find us.
Now, talking about the gala, can anyone buy a ticket to go to that?
Yes.
Well, in that case, what I'd like to offer to do for you is, if you keep me informed of those, I'll be glad to announce that here on this show.
That'd be great.
To let people know it's coming up. And Laura's going to share with me information on how to get a hold of them. So I'll put that on the website. It'll probably go on there either tomorrow or Saturday. I'm sorry, I'm running behind because I have a whole lot of stuff, but I will update the website with that information. So if you want to help support this program, and I truly encourage you to do so, you'll be able to find how to get in touch with them. There'll be hopefully a link there that could put you directly in touch with them for that. And I think it's a worthy cost to get a ticket and go to the gala. It's a wonderful thing to support. And what do the tickets go for?
I think they're $250.
$250. There you go. So anybody who wants to sponsor Gabby and I to go, it's out there. And because I have listeners who will do that. And, we have listeners, I'm grateful to say this goes all over the world. We have listeners in Brazil and Panama and such. So
That's
don't
wonderful.
be surprised if you hear from other places.
That's wonderful.
So what about people who survive?
Well, it's interesting. Back in 1975, there were about 2 million cancer survivors in this country. There's almost 17 million cancer survivors as of last year, according to the American Cancer Society. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Treatments are better, diagnoses are better. Early detection is a big part of that. And people are much more aware. I don't know if you remember, but way back in the 70s, I guess it was, the first time anybody ever mentioned breast cancer on television was Betty Ford or Happy Rockefeller. They both had breast cancer. And, before that, it was very taboo. People thought it was a death sentence, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's, I do a survivors group for anybody who's, I have individuals in this group that were diagnosed 10 years ago with stage 4 cancers and were told that they had 18 months to 2 years to live, and they're still here. There's a lot of people like that. They didn't realize most breast cancers are almost 90% curable.
Oh, that's great.
And so they've made a lot of strides. That being said, we do a survivorship group once a month because those that have lived longer sometimes have long-term side effects that they need to deal with. They didn't know how long, radiation stays in your body forever. So if you have radiation treatments, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Right.
And they might have negative long-term side effects from that.
Sure.
Peripheral neuropathy is very common. And so we have those groups to support those individuals because we really want to also help them decrease their chance of recurrence.
Yeah.
Your statistics are slightly higher if you've had cancer to get another cancer.
That's right.
And if there's lifestyle choices that they can make that can decrease their risk of recurrence, those are a lot of the classes we do. We do a lot of nutrition classes, the importance of exercise. Doctors will tell you that about 60% of cancer risk is 4 factors: poor diet, lack of exercise, use of tobacco products, and use of alcohol.
Right.
And changing those lifestyle elements can do a lot to extend your life.
And I'm a little bit hesitant to say this because some people take it out of context and start blaming themselves for it. But our emotional health can also be a big factor in that.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't mean if you're sick, you should have changed your mind a long time ago. I had somebody once say that. It's not about that. If you're able to get support emotionally, that helps with your treatment. And it helps your immune system to be able to work hand in hand.
Absolutely.
So that's an important component of it. It's funny you mentioned Betty Ford, and she also talked about her alcoholism.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty surprising because it was always Gerald Ford who was stumbling and falling down. You think that he was the one who was drinking and he was the one who was sober. So, sorry, didn't mean to kick you there. Kind of a funny thing there. There's a little story I won't tell about Betty Ford.
Yeah, we don't lay blame. Our focus is very much on the here and now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're diagnosed with this or your loved one is diagnosed with this. I have people come in all the time and want the answers, but I did all of these things right. I was a vegetarian. I hiked to Mount Wilson every weekend. I yoga. How did I get cancer? Well, I talk about that 60% of risk. There's another 40% of risk that we have no control over. And, those are just things, environmental issues,
right?
Genetics. They're getting much more information about the genetics of certain types of cancers.
But unfortunately, there's also a lot of charlatans that seize upon people and give them bad stuff. Particularly, now look, juicing's fine. Juicing's not going to cure your cancer. And I have a friend who has recurring cancer, different kinds, and he's a dear friend of mine. And a mutual friend kept telling him, if you just juice, he sold the juicing machines, it will cure it. And interesting thing is the guy doing the juicing died before my friend's still alive who has the cancer. And I'm not saying that I don't take any joy in that. Look, there's a reason we have a medical profession, and they're really out there trying to help you. And if someone's giving you a sure cure to something, I would be a little bit skeptical. I mean, I have some health issues, and I can't tell you how many people have given me, some well-meaning, some just con artists, trying to give me this thing, or if you take these vitamins, or if you eat so many hot peppers, you won't get cancer.
Yeah, there's a lot of that out there, and big part of my job is screening those people because I will have them contact me and say, I've got the cure, or I know how to prevent it. And those are 2 big red flag words.
Sure.
And yes, I've had people that have wanted to talk to my boss, and you're going to deny these people the cure that I know because I cured my cancer. And those are just, sorry guys, we know we can reduce the risk of recurrence.
Yes, reduce
the risk of recurrence. We don't have a silver bullet for the cure. We don't have a silver bullet for prevention. So that's a lot of the education that we do.
Well, it's funny. I had a guy approach me on LinkedIn wanted to come on the show because he had these special light things that would cure cancer, cure diabetes, all this stuff. And so I said to him, can you please send me the scientific data on that so I can read through it? Never heard from him again.
Yeah. Well, that's why I mentioned we're evidence-based. You know,
Exactly.
we do have, our programs were developed based on the knowledge of 35 plus years of data collected about those things that do help patients.
Right.
And, you know, one thing may not work for one person.
Right.
We offer a variety of things. We have 6 yoga classes a week, and Tai Chi and Qigong and Feldenkrais and all sorts of different types of classes. Not everything's right for everybody.
That's right.
We offer it. We encourage people to attend, and it's their life. If we can help them get as much information as they need to make the best decision for themselves, then we've done our job.
One of the things you said there that I just want to go back to that I think is so important. You talked about the individual situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's not a panacea.
Correct.
Each person, their body is going to be a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Their emotions are going to be at a different needs level. And that impresses me a great deal because when people think that you just do this, it'll work for everybody, it doesn't.
No, medical treatment has become much more personalized too.
Yes.
I can sit in a room with 12 women that all have breast cancer, and every single one of them has a different nuance. There's so many factors that make up for it. There's also other factors that sometimes get lost in the medical community. Doctors have very little time with you. And the one program I mentioned earlier about sitting down with them, helping them triage their questions for a doctor's appointment is really helpful. I had a woman come in who was going for a third opinion for surgery. She was making a decision between a lumpectomy and a mastectomy.
Right.
And we just started chatting. And I asked her what she did. She said, I'm a therapist. I said, me too. And I said, where do you work? And she said, the Department of Corrections. And I went, well, is there anything about your job that might be impacted by your surgical decision?
Oh, good question.
And sure enough, she said, why did none of these surgeons ask me that question? She was right-handed, had breast cancer in her right breast, and had to be certified with rifle and handgun training every year to keep her job.
Right.
And she said, you know, I never thought that my job would be impacted by this cancer decision. And I said, go back and ask those other 2 doctors that you already talked to.
Sure.
To help you make that decision.
Well, you know the difference is between a doctor and God, right? God knows he's not a doctor.
Okay.
Well, we're coming up to our last couple of minutes of the show, and I want to thank you for coming on tonight. I think you've offered some terrific information. Would you like to put a little shout out there how people can get a hold of your program?
Absolutely, absolutely. Our number is 626-796-1083. Our website is www.cscpasadena.org. The easiest way to find us on the internet is just to Google cancer support. All of the cancer support communities will come up there. So if you're not in the area that serves Pasadena, you can go online and find. You can even go to our national website, which is www.cancersupportcommunity.org, and there's a map, and you can click on the state to find where each one of those affiliates is located. So that's really the easiest way to get in touch with us.
Fantastic. Well, you've been a delightful guest. And who is this you brought with you?
This is our development director, Patricia Osteler. She's the one that takes care of all the grants and the fundraising, and I work on the program delivery side, and Patricia is on the fundraising side.
Oh, I thought you said she's related to President Grant. I'm sorry. I misunderstood that earlier. And I want to give a big thanks to our engineer, the best in the business, Mr. Nick Lane, and to my beloved Gabby for getting me here. By the way, Gabby's been doing some really great floral arrangements, and I'm obligated to mention that if I don't want to sleep on the couch. And so if you go to our Facebook, you'll see some of those floral arrangements, but she did a bunch of Valentine's. She did a quinceanera recently. Did I get that close? She says I have an Irish accent when I speak Spanish. And I don't know. It's I guess it's Carlos Opati. So, but again, thank you for spending this hour with us.
Well, thank you for having us.
And again, my guest has been Laura Wending, Program Director for Cancer Support Community in Pasadena. If no one has told you this week that they love you, let me be the first. Thank you again for tuning in to Viewpoint with Father John. I look forward to us being together again next week. God bless.